Velasco, and thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, the gold, I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
Has its share of great fights. But every once in a while, human mind can also be controlled and nothing. Again, happy nothing.
Ako po si Associated Filipino Political 4 p.m.
Only here, para sa bayan.
And that's the opening bell for Round by Round presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas! Welcome world! I'm Nisi Casiano.
At ako naman ang inyong lingkod, Dennis Principe.
Dennis, late last week, John Riel Casimero arrived in Los Angeles to start his training camp for the mandatory defense of his WBO bantamweight title against Paul Butler on December 11. Partner, are you surprised that Casimero still opted to train in the US for his next title defense? Kasi may change in scenery sa napapansin ko ngayon eh. And so far, yung kapatid niya na si Jason ang humahawak ng mitts niya at hindi ko nakikita nga itong si Nonoy Neri. And he's now training at the House of Boxing in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. And according to a reliable source, most of his last two fights, most of these expenses were shouldered by MP Promotions. Kaya sa akin medyo gutsy siya. Your thoughts on this?
Well, for a world champion, kung tutusin, yung mga plane fare, yung mga expenses, training, minimal na lang yan, kasi world champion ka na, and especially for General Casimiro, he's had a few fights in the US against well-known marquee opponents. So, dun sa gastusin, walang problema. Now, as to the adjustment, right now, we can't say really kung for the better ba ito because yun nga, isipin mo na if it ain't broke, why fix it? Diba? What if talaga meron palang problema si John Riel sa relationship with his previous handlers and maybe dito mas naging maganda yung scenery or yung aura. That we will be able to tell after this fight because if you look at it, and I don't know if you'll agree, parang medyo lightly opponent ito as compared sa mga dating mga nakalaban ni Casimero. So, it's something na parang medyo nakaka-intriga on the part of General Casimero.
Pero speaking of nakaka-intriga, ito meron lang akong natatandaan. If you can correct me if I'm wrong. Natatandaan ko siya noong 2005, or around 2004-2005, Manny Pacquiao is in the same situation nung nagpunta siya kay Murad Muhammad, ito nga tapos kay Shelly Finkel, then kay Bob Arum, nag-overlap pa nga nung pumirma siya ng kontrata kay Golden Boy, kay Oscar De La Hoya in 2007. They're in the same situation ito nga si John Riel Casimero kasi parang masyadong maraming napasukan to si John Riel Casimero kasi aside from MP Promotions, he is still under Tom Brown's TJB Promotions. And according to Maurice East, during an interview with our colleague Bill Velasco a few weeks ago, he is still the manager of John Riel Casimero. And let's take note, yun nga, nabanggit mo nga, though, it looks like a pedestrian opponent pagdating kay Paul Butler, though it reflected dun sa kukunin niyang premyo. He's not getting a six-figure payday in the Butler fight kasi 75% of the 105,000 purse bid lang ang mapupunta kay John Riel Casimero and there will be deductions in the final payout. Are you a bit worried about that?
Well, again, with the amount that he earned from his previous fights, kahit pa paano, masasabi natin na yung mga gastusin niya would not be of a problem really. But psychologically, you mentioned nga na dito, how much will he earn? 70? Less than $80,000? Ang balita ko, yung offer before kay Nonito Donaire was $500,000. And ang nangyari lang doon, he was ready to take that fight. He was ready to sign the contract. But apparently, he blocked all of his communications. Kaya yung contract, hindi nakarating sa kanya on time. Now, $500,000 as compared to 80,000 maximum, malaking diferensya noon, ano? So sabi nga natin, we saw this before with Manny Pacquiao, but the problem is he's not Manny Pacquiao. So he's in a different situation. Kahit sabihin natin may nangyari na before, it's all up to John Riel kasi meron kung paano siya makaka-adjust dito sa situation na to.
Dennis, ang napapansin ko dito, parang kailangan na talaga ni John Riel kasi meron na someone na magmamando sa kanya. Parang, oops, dapat ito na yung pupuntahan niyang direction. And so, parang ngayon, parang he's his own boss eh. Siya ang may call, siya ang nasusunod. And kuminsan sa mundo ng boxing, unless, an exception lang dito, kung ikaw si Floyd Mayweather, parang it's taking a toll on his career. Your take on this?
Ilan taon na po si John Riel ngayon?
Almost 30. Alam ko 30, 31 na si John Riel Casimero eh.
Alam mo, once an individual turns 18, adult ka na.
Yes.
Okay, and 18 and beyond, dapat you call the shots sa kung anong gusto mong gawin sa career mo. No? And now, sabi mo nga, he's around 30 years old. Dapat lang naman talaga, actually, dapat lahat ng mga boxers, they call the shots. They decide for themselves. Kaya sabihin mo, may manager ako, but ano ba yung manager? Maximum 33% kukunin sa'yo. You still own 77 or 67%. No, of managing your career. So ikaw pa rin talaga yung boss. So kung gano'n ang gagawin ni John Riel, tama na rin yun. Ano? And while maraming mga misstep, siguro this is his chance. Ano? Kung lighter or lightly opponent yung makakalaban niya, good for him. He can probably overcome this obstacle and take it from there. No? From then on, ayusin niya na no? Yung managerial side of his boxing career.
Dennis, now that Casimero is in the States, are you living a small room for him and Sean Gibbons to reconcile? Kasi according to a reliable source, ang pinag-ugatan nitong iringan o friction or whatever you want to call it, it's about the pay cut in the Guillermo Rigondo fight.
Well, ang tanong dyan, meron bang contract si Sean Gibbons with John Riel Casimero?
Yes,
That's one. Okay. Number two, in boxing, basta naman na merong upcoming project or fight na malaking kikitahin ng isang boxer, madali namang makipag-ayos kapag ganyan. Right now, since December 11 is just around the corner, malapit na, all he needs to do muna is focus on this fight. After all, it's a done deal. He's set to fight Paul Butler in a mandatory title defense. And then, doon na siya mag-decide after that. Just focus on this. He signed the contract. He signed to fight and make a mandatory defense. And then from there, ayusin na. And as far as him working with any other promoter, basta merong next fight na maganda, who knows? What if kung Casimero versus Naoya Inoue or a Casimero Donaire will happen after December 11. Diba? Madali na magkakausap yung mga yan.
Chief, mas nakikita ko na parang safety net niya nga itong Probellum. Pero sa tingin mo ba, ako nafe-feel ko, mas dapat ayusin niya MP Promotions na problema. Pero tingin mo ba, mas dapat unahin niya yon ngayon to sort things out with Sean Gibbons? Kasi baka yun pa ang humarang sa kanila in case matuloy nga itong labanan between him and Nonito Donaire.
If merong contract again with Sean
Gibbons, no? If may contract.
Kasi we know naman na MP Promotions, while meron silang mga fighters within their stable, MP Promotions is a typical Manny Pacquiao, has a typical Manny Pacquiao attitude. Tutulong yan kahit walang kontrata. Yun ang magandang malaman doon. Yun ang magandang itanong natin. Kasi, come to think of it, bakit pipirma si Casimero with Probellum if he knows na meron siyang contract with Sean Gibbons, di ba? So doon lang yun ang gusto nating malaman, no? And I really doubt na merong contract si Casimero kay Sean Gibbons. For him to do this, I believe na alam niya na wala siyang contract. It's just that Casimero wanted to be recognized as a Manny Pacquiao protege. Kasi malaking bentahe yun. He knows na malaking bentahe yun pagka lumaban siya sa US. So that we have to establish. And if ever meron siyang contract with Sean Gibbons, more problems will arise from his career, even if he overcomes in challenge ni Paul Butler.
Last Saturday, October 23 in Sucat, Parañaque, former world title challenger Jimuel Magramo won the vacant OPBF flyweight title against JR Raquinel via unanimous decision with the scores of 118-110, 119-109, and 115-130. Medyo dikit pa yan, ha? Well, Dennis, do you believe that the experience of Magramo played a huge factor in this fight? Because sa akin, despite the fact that Raquinel has proven himself in the past by winning the same belt a few years ago and successfully defended the belt twice, sa akin medyo surprising siya na, alam mo yun, na hindi nagpakita, or at least I expected JR Raquinel to step up, or feeling ko ready na siya for that kind of level na kung anong meron si Magramo. Ikaw ba na-surprise ka na the fight turned out to be like that?
Well, not really, because while nabanggit mo nga, maganda rin naman yung record ni JR Raquinel, entering this fight, what is really encouraging about the career of Jimel Magramo after seeing this fight is that it only proves that he learned from his last fight, yung kanyang world title shot, na although he lost via knockout, against Junto Nakatani, for him to dominate a fighter of JR Raquinel's caliber, who like him is a former regional champion, it only shows that number one, Magramo learned a lot from that championship match. And number two, while he lost via knockout, it also showed, yung kanyang huling laban, na hindi gaanong naka-apekto sa kanya yung knockout loss. Kumbaga walang stigma. Kasi usually mga ganyan coming off a knockout loss, parang medyo magiging maingat, magiging boring yung laban, but he had a pretty decent outing against JR Raquinel. So while he lost against Junto Nakatani, I think his performance against JR Raquinel will help him a lot in terms of people saying that, uy, mukhang nakarecover agad si Jimel Magramo, and most likely, he'll get another shot at the world title if he gets to win a couple of more fights, just like what he did against JR Raquinel.
Well, ako I agree with that kasi sa observation, totoo. He made it look easy talaga against JR Raquinel, and totoo nga yun, may kasabihan nga na it's either you win or you learn. And Dennis, alam naman natin itong OPBF is affiliated with the WBC, and totoo nga, I would agree na alam mo yan kasi Magramo is ranked number 9 in the WBC, and samantalang ito si Raquinel is number 8 if I'm not mistaken. And I think it will help Magramo improve his position in the rankings because of that victory, kasi lalo ngayon si Magramo is naghahangad pa nga na makalaban muli sa isang world title shot after falling short against Junto Nakatani like you mentioned earlier. Ngayon, Dennis, sa akin naman, going to JR Raquinel, medyo may pagka-double whammy. Kasi it's a tough loss para sa akin. As we all know, the OPBF decided to strip him off the title due in inactivity because of COVID-19 restrictions. Now, his promoter, Brico Santig, tried to appeal the decision of the organization from taking the belt from him. Ngayon, ang tanging paraan na lang dito was na mahawakan nila muli yung corona is to face Magramo, but unfortunately the fight didn't go his way. Your thoughts on this?
The good thing about this fight is that Raquinel lost to a worthy challenger and a worthy champion, because yun nga, they fought for a title na one of the most respected regional belts in all of boxing. Kasi matagal na yung OPBF. Although ngayon,
credible at rankings.
Yes. Although ngayon titignan mo, karamihan mga Japanese boxers ang rated dyan. But for me, we know the Japanese community as one of the most honest nations pagdating sa dealing with rankings, with title fights, kaya nga marami dyan, mga foreigners, walang takot pag Japan because they know that they're going to get a fair share of everything once they are there. So for J.R. Raquinel, I think it's while it's a loss, it's something that will make him improve more, and he can learn from his opponent, from the opponent who beat him, si Jimel Magramo, because like him, ngayon galing siya sa talo, so just learn from Magramo na all you need to do is go back to the gym, improve yourself, check on the mistakes na nagawa mo. Good thing about this is that you can watch the fight again, kahit na pandemic tayo, there are ways to review yung iyong performance, and with the performance that he showed against Magramo. Remember, this is his first fight after what, 2 years?
2 years,
Not
tama.
bad, for him to
go the
lose,
distance.
go the distance in a very competitive bout. While yung scoring was medyo lopsided, I think overall it was a very competitive match. Something that in a lot of ways Raquinel can use as a tool for him na makakuha agad, makabounce back agad from this defeat.
I agree kasi 24 pa lamang nga itong si J.R. Raquinel, and of course nabanggit mo na after 2 years ang kinalaban mo kagad is a former world title challenger in the form of Jimel Magramo. Ngayon, Dennis, para lang sa matapos to, panghuling tanong na lang to end this discussion. Napag-uusapan niyo ito ni Boyet a few episodes ago. Gaano kasarap na finally nagkaroon na ng boxing event dito sa NCR? Medyo matagal natin inintay ito. And salamat sa Johnny Lorde Promotions na at least ulit it break at least yung cycle na alam mo yan, yung pag-iintay natin na ulit nakakita tayo ng boxing. Hindi na tayo lalayo ulit ng Laguna, Pangasinan para lang makapanood ng boxing event.
Well, it broke the cycle dito sa NCR, but for quite some time during the pandemic or within the pandemic, maganda yung streak ng boxing promotions, in a lot of regions dito sa atin. Meron tayo before sa Laguna, ilang beses yun, 3, 4. Meron sa Cebu, Jensan, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, except NCR. And all of them were conducted in such a way na wala nagkaroon ng issue about protocol and the COVID infection itself. Sabi nga natin noon, pinag-usapan namin ni Boyet, we've had 22 promotions up to that point and 0 infection. And then lahat ng mga yon nagbabubble sila for minimum of 14 days. So walang dapat ikatakot because for one, Gab has done a splendid job in making sure na hindi magkakaroon ng problema ng protocol. Number 2, all promoters talaga naging very cooperative with whatever needs ang dapat nilang gawin at sundin pagdating dun sa pagsunod sa protocol. So kudos sa Gab. Maraming salamat din sa mga promoters and IATF of course na finally ito na, meron na tayong promotion sa NCR and apparently sunod-sunod na to. Meron na ilang mga promotions in Metro Manila in the coming weeks.
Adrian Broner has found himself in trouble with the law again. The 4th Division World Champion has been jailed by a Cleveland judge for violating his probation after failing to enroll in a court-mandated alcohol treatment program. The probation stems from a 2018 incident in which he kissed a woman at a nightclub without her consent, a case that ultimately resulted in him pleading guilty to misdemeanor assault. Broner also has yet to pay $800,000 that was awarded to the plaintiff and failed to appear at a deposition in the case a few months ago. Dennis, itong si Adrian Broner personifies his alias, The Problem. He's a gift that keeps on giving para sa akin. Do you think this is his last straw?
Alam mo, with this alias or nom de guerre, The Problem, siya dapat yung nagbibigay ng problem sa kanyang mga kalaban. But apparently, he needs a name change. After all, uso naman ngayon yan, a name change sa US. Adrian, the Problematic. Talaga namang napakalaking problema and probably that's the most expensive kiss narinig ko, no? $800,000.
Oo.
Tama ba yun?
Totoo.
Ano, siguro ako, kahit flying kiss, pwede na $100,000. Walang problema, no? But, seriously speaking about yung career ni Adrian Bornasayan, ano? Sabi nga nila, meron siyang aura, mystique ni Floyd Mayweather Jr., ano? Even though he suffered a loss early on in his career, ano? Sayang yung kanyang career, no? He should have been a pound for pound fighter, no? Kung talagang naging straight lang ito with his with the way he handled not only his career but also his life, ano? But as far as yung sinasabi mo na could this be the last straw, can never tell because kung titignan natin, bentahe pa rin no? Si Adrian Broner. And for all we know, yan pa nga yung mas pinapanood ng mga tao, yung mga may ganyang backstory.
Baliktad na eh.
No, na galing sa kulungan, babalik sa ring, coming off an hiatus, is he still the same? Mga ganun, no? They're turning out to be an enigma, no, sa paying public. Ano? Mas mabuti na yan kaysa yung mga tawag ito yung mga YouTubers, ano, na lalaban sa mga retired pros. Sa tingin ko mas bebenta pa rin si Adrian Broner. But then again, it depends on how he manages his life and his career while dealing with this added problem of his.
Dennis, I agree na pwede pa makabalik itong si Adrian Broner inside the ring. Pero sa akin dito parang out of reach na when it comes to big names kasi after the Marcos Maidana fights, after the Marcos Maidana fight in 2013, medyo nahirapan na to fight bigger names ito nga si Adrian Broner because he lost to Sean Porter via unanimous decision. Nilabanan din niya si Mikey Garcia, same fate. Majority decision pagdating kay Jesse Vargas, alam din naman natin kung ano nangyari sa laban nila ni Senator Manny Pacquiao in 2019. Masyado na sigurong parang malabo na to get a big money fight. And nakita pa natin ang problema dito is that he said that he was broke and if ever man may laman yung bank account niya is the court will just garnish kung ano man ang laman ng kung may pera man yung bank account niya. Pero sa iyo ba, many boxers had run-ins with the law. Pero para sa iba, doable pa rin to redeem himself as a boxer kung lalaban man siya. And tingin mo ba mas, yun ka, well, nasabi mo na, agree ka, pero do you think it's much feasible or much doable para sa iyo at least to put him in exhibition fights or novelty fights against YouTubers? Mas madali pa yon para sa kanya ngayon sa stage ng career niya? Actually,
even yung mga actual and legitimate fights, meron pa rin. Ano? You have to remember, Nisi, while he lost kay Manny Pacquiao, he was able to recover from that loss. Ano? He was able to score a victory early this year, and give him siguro mga 3, 4, 5 months to deal with that problem. After all, mukhang maaayos naman yan outside yung outside of court settlement. Mukhang maaayos naman yan. At 32, let's give him a 2-year window. He scores 1 or 2 victories after this latest problem of his. And marami kang pwedeng i-consider, what if dumating yung time na ready na siya for mga big name fights and umakyat yung Gervonta Davis, or mag-settle na sa welterweight division, or maghanap ng activity fights sina Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, nandun pa rin siya, while right now, he can be considered as someone na parang stepping stone or an activity fight, at least kung yun ang pag-uusapan natin, even if you consider him as a fighter na pang-activity, pero yung mga pwedeng i-pair sa kanya are marquee opponents or yung mga up and coming. So marami pa rin. It's good that the Super Lightweight division is teaming with talents na in the next couple of years, aakyat na rin yan ng welterweight division. And the welterweight division itself, marami rin ng mga marquee fights. So in a way, sabi ko nga, let's give him a 2-year window for him na makakuha ng kanyang retirement pay at makakuha ng at least one marquee fight. And that remains a possibility as far as I'm concerned for Adrian Broner, despite the problems that he's been facing of late.
Well, lilinawin ko lang, Chief. So, ibig mong sabihin, may espasyo pa rin for Adrian Broner, at least a gatekeeping role. Yeah,
of course. Depende lang talaga kung paano niya i-handle sa sarili niya, especially in public, Kasi syempre, although minsan nga the more na nagiging masama yung isang boxer like Adrian Broner, for as long as wag ka lang magko-commit ng murder or homicide, yung mga cases na makukulong ka, mas nagiging interesting pa para sa mga promoters, but of course, ang bottom line is for him to keep himself in shape. Pwede ka maging novelty for a while, pero kung hindi naman in boxing shape, wala rin mangyayari because unlike yung mga exhibition matches, dito sa professional boxing, ang lahat ng mga promoters, the basic is that you have to be in boxing, in great boxing shape. Hindi pwede yung gano'n na parang, bahala na, parang, sige, malaking pangalan yan, gamitin natin. No. Most of the promoters here, nandun sila sa safe side. They want to make sure na talagang pwedeng lumaban ang isang boxing.
It's time for our Fearless Fighter of the Day, brought to you by Eastern Communications. And he's none other than R.R. Andales, who hails from Allen, Northern Samar. He holds a professional record of 13-2 with 5 victories by way of knockout. Last Saturday, October 23 in South Korea, he defeated Min Fat Sam of Vietnam by way of 7th round TKO to capture the vacant WBO Oriental Minimum Weight Championship. And that's our Eastern Communications Fearless Fighter of the Day. And that's the final bell for today's episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Nisi Casiano.
And I'm Dennis Principe. We are on Facebook Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. And of course, nandyan din po tayo sa YouTube. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share ito pong ating mga pinapakita sa inyo, ng mga latest updates pagdating po sa professional boxing.
Boy, it's season. Ryan Sogalia and my partner, Dennis Principe, are working the fights for you tomorrow. So catch them on the next Round by Round. All boxing, all Filipino, all the time. See you tomorrow.